The hidden history of the Shroud of Turin. The Shroud of Turin, a famous linen cloth bearing the enigmatic image of a crucified man, has been officially known since the 14th century, when it appeared in Lirey, France, with the de Charny family. However, numerous clues trace its history back to Jerusalem in the year 33, at the time of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ under Pontius Pilate. This hypothesis, too disturbing for many, leads people to try to discredit it, preferring to see the shroud as nothing more than a medieval forgery. But ancient texts, artistic representations, and unsettling testimonies point to a much older journey. Thus, very recently, a crucial document was discovered. It shows how the shroud could have reached the de Charny family, the one who publicly displayed it in Lirey, France, around 1355. Discover the hidden history of the Shroud of Turin.
Part 1. From 1355 to today. The first appearance of the shroud in Lirey, France, around 1355.
Confirmed a historical path. Lirey around 1355. It is a fact widely recognized by historians that the first expositions of the shroud took place in Lirey, France, around 1355. Among the various historical documents, we can present a pilgrim's badge dated between 1357 and 1370. There is also the memorandum written in 1389 by Bishop Pierre d'Arcis. This bishop complained to Pope Clement VII that the shroud was a fake, specifying that the relic had been hidden for about 34 years. Its presence in Lirey is therefore attested around 1355.
Journey from Lirey to St. Hippolyte in the Doubs, where it would remain from 1418 to 1452.
However, in 1418, following instabilities caused by the Great Companies, which were bands of brigands in France, Marguerite de Charny, Geoffroy de Charny's granddaughter, placed the shroud in a safe place in St. Hippolyte. At the time, indeed, this village was not in France, but was part of the Holy Roman Empire. A marble plaque in this church commemorates the shroud's presence. Finally, seeing herself reach an advanced age for the time, Marguerite de Charny sought another protector and found one in Louis of Savoy. Thus, on March 22, 1453, in Chambéry, the House of Savoy acquired the shroud and kept it until 1983, when they gave it to the Catholic Church. It should also be noted that Louis of Savoy held the title inherited from his family, Prince of Achaean and Morea.
To date, Achaea is a region of modern Greece in the northwest Peloponnese. In the 13th and 14th centuries, Achaea, also called Morea, covered the entire peninsula and reached Athens.
This fact is important to remember for what follows. Indeed, there is a very interesting thesis that helps to understand the shroud's arrival in Lirey. Its main author, Laurent Bourgeois, speaks of the Achaean clan in reference to Achaea. See his book of the same title published in 2020. In this gift of the shroud to the Duke of Savoy, we can therefore see on Marguerite de Charny's part a desire to keep the precious relic within the lineage of this family or this clan, as some would say, as we will see later.
Journey from St. Hippolyte to Chambéry, where it would remain from 1453 to 1578.
However, the acquisition of the shroud by the House of Savoy was not synonymous with peace and rest, far from it. Thus, on occasion, the relic would travel, finding itself in Pinerolo in Piedmont in 1477, in Turin for the first time in 1495, and in Brest in 1503. But in 1532 in Chambéry, the worst almost happened to the relic. Indeed, a violent fire broke out in the chapel where it was located. An eyewitness, Emmanuel Philibert de Pingen, recounts in Old French, which we will somewhat modernize. These brave people walk courageously and without fear into the midst of the flames, break the iron bars of the main altar, and snatch the padlocks that were all glowing hot, pull out and carry away the Holy Shroud, which was completely intact, although the silver reliquary where it was kept had already melted. Recall that silver melts at 962 degrees Celsius. The burn marks and large holes we see today are a testament to this. Furthermore, to flee the French troops of Francis I, who had invaded Savoy, the shroud traveled between Piedmont and the county of Nice from 1536 to 1561. In the latter location, it stayed in the ducal tower from 1536 to 1543. From this time, what remains today is a confraternity of penitents, established in 1620 and still active, as well as a chapel of the Holy Shroud built in 1623, and the solemn celebration of the Holy Shroud every May 4th by these same penitents. Then, from 1543 to 1561, the shroud was in Vercelli in Piedmont, where it was almost stolen by the French, who searched for it all night. Finally, as the situation gradually calmed, it would return to Chambéry from 1561 to 1578.
Transfer from Chambéry to Turin in 1578, where it remains to this day.
Having become the capital of the states of Savoy in 1562, Turin grew increasingly important, notably with the installation of the royal family in 1563. Since the shroud remained very important to the House of Savoy, he wanted to bring it back to Turin. However, the canons of the Sainte-Chapelle of Chambéry were officially the guardians of the relic and were very attached to it. But an opportunity presented itself. Indeed, the Archbishop of Milan, Charles Borromeo, had long prayed to the Lord for an end to the plague epidemic in Milan, 1576 to 77. His prayer having been answered, he decided to go on foot to Chambéry to venerate the shroud and thus thank the Lord. To spare the elderly archbishop such a journey, dangerous to his health, it was decided to transfer the relic to Turin for a time, so they said. On September 14, 1578, the Holy Shroud left Chambéry for Turin, and Charles Borromeo was able to pray before it and, on October 14, preside over a public exposition. And that is how the shroud arrived in Turin, where it remains to this day.
The appearance of the shroud in Lirey in 1355 remains one of the greatest mysteries of its history. In the second part to follow, we will lift the veil on this new lead and retrace the shroud's fascinating journey from Jerusalem to Lirey. Help us very simply by liking and sharing this video, and by subscribing to Holy Click. It's a small click for you, but a great help for us. Thank you. Second part, from year 33 to 1355.
In the year 33, Jesus Christ is crucified and laid in the tomb in Jerusalem. The first text accepted by historians that mentions the shroud of Jesus is of course the Gospel, more precisely the Gospels. We find the Greek word syndon, meaning shroud, 4 times, Matthew once, Mark twice, Luke once. Shortly before the destruction of Jerusalem by the Romans in the year 68, the majority of Christians emigrated either to Pella, now Tabakat Fal, or to Antioch, now Antakya. According to Eusebius of Caesarea and Epiphanius of Salamis, they had received a divine revelation announcing the fall of Jerusalem and very likely brought Christ's relics with them.
Journey from Jerusalem to Antioch, where the Christians probably remained until 387.
In 387, following the revolt of Antioch against the fiscal policy of Emperor Theodosius I, part of the population, including many Christians, chose exile to Edessa.
Journey from Antioch to Edessa. First mention of a miraculous image of Christ.
It was in this city people first spoke of a mysterious image of Christ, said not man-made, Achaean-poetic, for being miraculously imprinted on a cloth. According to legend, this image was sent to King Abgar by Jesus himself in the form of a divine and unpainted imprint. But this would only be a face and not a body. However, historian Ian Wilson supports the hypothesis that this image of Edessa could correspond to the face visible on the Shroud of Turin when it is folded in eight, so as to present only that face. Several clues support this hypothesis, according to Jean-Christian Petitfils. The research of Professor John Jackson, by studying the different folds of the shroud, has shown the existence of a folding pattern corresponding to the presentation of the face in landscape orientation. Several French researchers, Éric de Bazelère, Marcel Alonso, and Thierry Castex, detected an oval halo around the face, which they explained by a window that would have been fitted with a converging lens of glass or alabaster in order to magnify the image. Finally, another text shows that it is quite possible that this image of Edessa is much more than just a portrait of Christ. Indeed, around the 6th century, Smira, physician to the Byzantine emperor, wrote about the image of Edessa. Christ stretched out full length on a snow-white cloth, and by the action of God, the glorious features of the Lord's face and the very noble stature of his entire body were imprinted on it.
Journey from Edessa to Constantinople, where the miraculous image would remain until 1204.
In 944, after Byzantines besieged Edessa, the image was moved to Constantinople. There, two documents clearly show that it was a long cloth on which one could distinguish not only a face, but also a body. The first document, homily by Deacon Gregory the Referendary, preached August 16, 944, in Constantinople after the cloth arrived. By describing it succinctly, he will provide a key characteristic for our research. It is written, "It is they, the sweat and the ointments, that have colored the true imprint of Christ. It was embellished by the drops from his own side." The second document is the Chronicle of John Skylitzes. The manuscript is dated to the 12th century, but this Byzantine historian Skylitzes probably wrote these pages around 1070. It consists of 577 miniatures. On one of them, a cloth held by two people can be clearly seen. Jean-Christian Petitfils comments, "Strangely, this veil of an inordinate length seems very cumbersome for a mere support. It's obvious. The emperor is obliged to hold it folded so that it does not touch the ground. The cloth then passes over the presenter's shoulder to hang below his belt. This is an obvious anomaly. In addition to its length, the face of Christ is clearly depicted. Finally, this face sits toward the long cloth's middle. So here are three characteristics that correspond very well to the long shroud of Christ. Taking these two documents into account, it becomes possible to affirm that a long cloth representing the face and body of Christ did exist in Constantinople from 944 onwards. During this period from 944 to 1204, we find several historical texts evoking or directly mentioning the shroud. Furthermore, an illustrious document, the Prey manuscript dated from 1192 to 1195, depicts it with precision. Indeed, comparing this drawing with the shroud reveals several striking matches and one feature impossible to invent: 4 small holes forming an inverted L. Indeed, when one looks closely at the shroud, one finds exactly 4 small L-shaped holes. How can one invent that? The author therefore had the shroud of Christ before his eyes when he drew it. But the Crusaders' 1204 sack of Constantinople seemingly almost erased this sacred cloth from recorded history and memory. The Pope at the time, Innocent III, had condemned this tragedy and had even threatened with excommunication those who had been involved in the theft of the relics if they did not return them. This may explain ensuing historic silence. However, two important documents, one of which is almost unpublished, could well shed light on this historical gap. As we will see, thanks to the first document, our journey will take us to Athens.
Journey from Constantinople to Athens. The shroud would probably remain there until around 1311.
This first document is a letter discovered in 1981. Initially disputed, its authenticity is now confirmed. Historian Petitfils writes, sweeping away the doubts of skeptics, medievalist and paleographer Barbara Frail has since established the perfect reliability of this text. Written in 1205 by Theodore Angelus, a close associate of a former Byzantine emperor, to Pope Innocent III, this letter describes very precisely what happened to the shroud. In the division of the spoils, the Venetians took the treasures of gold, silver, and ivory. The French took the relics of the saints, and among them, the most sacred object, the shroud in which, after his death and before his resurrection, our Lord Jesus Christ was wrapped. We know that these objects are kept in Venice, in France, and other countries where the looters came from, and that the Holy Shroud is in Athens. But how to make the link between Athens and Lirey? Different hypotheses have been put forward, but one in particular has caught our attention, that of the Achaean clan, which is now supported by a precious document that we are going to present. This hypothesis suggests that Othon de la Roche, one of the Crusaders, stole the shroud to bring it back to Athens. Many specialists agree on this point. It would have remained in his family until the fall of Athens and been entrusted to Mahodiano around 1312, who would have put it in safety in his powerful keep of Kalamata in the south of Achaea. Achaea is part of the region south of Athens, also called the Peloponnese or the Morea. This latter name is very interesting because the second document that allows us to make the link between Greece and France is the Chronicle of the Morea in its Aragonese version. Remember that in France, the shroud appeared in Lirey in 1355 in the collegiate church built by Geoffroy de Charny. Now, in 1316, a French expedition arrived in this region of Achaea to fight the advance of the Aragonese, and in this expedition was the Burgundian Jan, the Lord of Charny, father of Geoffroy. This one was very likely to accompany his father despite his young age. In any case, this chronicle from Morea mentions their family name. Here is the key passage. And Prince Louis, having recovered the principality, wished to reward his servants. He gave to Sir Droy de Charny, brother of Sir Geoffroy de Charny, the daughter of the Lord of Vastitza. In any case, whether Geoffroy was present or not, it is certain that his father and his brother were there. It is therefore very probable that other donations were granted to them, such as the precious shroud. This exceptional document allows us to link Athens and Lirey through the Charny family, and it seems to us to offer the most compelling hypothesis for filling the historical gap in the Shroud of Turin. We hope you found this video interesting. In any case, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share, like, and subscribe. It's a small click for you and a big help for us. See you soon on Holy Click.